Okay, we're now going to take a look at two other controls. We're going to have a look at the checkbox and we're going to have a look at radio buttons. And I'm just going to drag firstly a couple of checkboxes and then a couple of radio buttons onto my form. Now if you're not sure the differences, if I just run this for a second, even though there's no code there yet, you'll see with checkboxes we can select multiple items. So you can see I can have both of these selected, just one, or neither. With a radio button you can only have one value selected. Now you might be wondering here, what happens if I want two sets of radio buttons? I can do that as well. I can put things in a group and we'll just take a look at that now. Just close this down. You can see here I've just placed these two buttons directly onto the form. What I'm going to do is look down to the containers option. You can see I've got a group box. I can just drag that item up there, put my group box on, and if I wanted to make another group of radio buttons there, I can now just drag those straight into that group. So let's just take another one, and if I just run that through and just move that into view, you can see that I can have one of these selected and also either of those selected. So group box allows you to group your radio buttons together, so that's quite helpful. Okay, we're now going to take a look at some of the ways we can work with this, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a label here, and what I'm going to do is show you how you can automatically detect when a checkbox has been checked and we can update something. So because I'm going to be updating a code, usually here what I do is go and give all of my controls a proper name, but just again for simplicity I'm just going to leave things as they are. What I'm going to do first of all is just show you how you might want to use an event with this, which is slightly different from having it run when we press a button. So I'm just going to click on the checkbox, go to the lightning bolt, and you can see I've got something that says check changed. So what I'm going to do is give this a name, so I'm going to say update label 1, and hopefully when this changes it's going to update that label. So all I'm going to do here in the update label is say label 1 dot text equals let's just say item checked. Nice and straightforward. Let's just run that through and have a look at what happens. Bring this into view. So I've got my event handler now. I click it and it says item checked. Okay, we've seen that if we check the box we can have this label change, but what happens if we want to uncheck that box and we want this to say unchecked? To do that we're going to have to go into the code and add a little bit more logic to that. So let's do that now. I'm just going to go and press F7 to jump back into my code, and at the top here I'm going to put in a selection statement. I'm going to say, well, if checkbox 1 is checked, and you should find there's a property that says check there, and again if you just have a look at that, it tells me the checked state. So I can just say if it's checked, then obviously I want to display label 1.text item checked. If it's not checked, then else. Obviously here I want to display not checked, so I'm just going to put in there label 1.text equals item unchecked. Okay, so here we're checking to see the state. It's running when the event is pressed, and of course here if it's not selected it's going to display unchecked. Let's just run that through. Bring that into view here. So for checkbox 1, item checked there, and you can see item unchecked. So it's quite easy to have something change using that event and also find out the value and the checked state. Okay, we're now going to take a look at the radio buttons, and what you can see I've done here is just rename these radio buttons and give them red, green and blue in their text properties. And what I want to happen is when I choose one of these I'm going to get a panel. I'm just going to put a panel over here. I'm just going to change the colour of the panel to match the option selected. So we looked at doing this with an event up on the checkboxes, so let's do this with a button just to see a different way of going about this. Drop my button on. I'm just going to change the text of my button to change colour. Okay, I'm going to double click just to add an event handler for that. I'm just going to get rid of this. I've accidentally ended up with two button 1 click. So I'll just get rid of that one for a moment. And you can see this is the problem when you don't give them names. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first of all see if my radio button 1 has been selected. Now it sounds odd, but it's checked that we're going to use here. It's the same as that we used for the checkbox. So if the radio button has been checked, that's radio button 1, then what I want to do here inside this bit of code is set my panel color. So let's just go panel 1 dot back color, and I'm going to set that to red. So if I just use the simple color dot red syntax, just going to make life quite easy for me, and then I'm going to put an else in. So else if, so this time we're looking at radio button 2, we're going to see if that's been checked. Has been checked, and of course we want to set panel 1's colour to, what did we choose? Let's just drop back into that, which shows green. So colour dot green, and of course we could just have another else just at the bottom here, and we could choose the one. I'm just going to leave that up to you to have a go at that, but let's just run that through and see what we get. So press my play button. Let's just bring that back into view again. So if we choose red, we choose change colour, you can see we've got red there, green, we change to green. So it's really easy to use both checkboxes and radio buttons, and again for your user interface you just need to make a distinction between actually having the ability to choose multiple options and just one choice from a list.